golfj.com.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Golf J podcast on golfj.com. I'm Jim Sinicropi alongside my co-host Rhett, Ticconi. Doug Brown also joining us inside the Finger Lakes 1.TV studios in Seneca Falls, New York tonight on Monday, April 4th, 2016. And tonight we're going to be talking about the 2016 Masters Tournament in Augusta. The surest sign of spring is the Masters on CBS, and tonight we'll break down the field, give you our picks, get you caught up on everything you need to know before you go about filling out your office pool and settling in to watch the season's first major. So, hey Rhett, how you doing?
What's up, bud?
We got our Masters green on tonight. The green Golf J hats.
That's
the green.
right.
I got my green shirt.
You sure the surest sign of spring is the azaleas at Augusta, or is it the snow in upstate New York?
Yeah, well,
No golf for us this week. Good thing the Masters is on.
I know that's the only bright spot of
Right.
this bad weather is that we won't miss any of it by being out on the course.
Exactly.
So because other than Sunday's round, I would golf Saturday probably rather than watch it.
You usually want to get out and play while you're watching it, or find time to get in and out in the morning. But I think we're locked in this weekend. I guess we'll have to watch live from the Masters all week.
And Doug, our resident PGA Tour analyst, always comes in for the big ones, the Masters. And
Bringing the big guns in.
Thanks for having me.
And I guess right off the bat, I'll kick it to Doug with the first question, and that would be, what's your favorite thing about Masters Week?
Wow, my favorite thing. I've been fortunate enough to have been to that golf course. In 1999, I went down there for the practice rounds with Steve Hyde. The best thing I see now after being there is looking at the undulation on that golf course.
Yeah. Yep.
And the new televisions make it easier to see than the old ones from when we were
Right.
kids and all that, but still it doesn't do it justice.
No, it doesn't.
Just how impeccable it's kept, and the 30-foot rises in some of those greens.
When you walk those fairways
Yeah.
and walk the course, it's
It's
I've
majestic.
been lucky too to have gone to a
Right.
couple of rounds, and
Right.
just the size from the clubhouse down to the back end, where
Right.
number 12 and the 13th tee, how much
Right.
lower they are down there from the top
Yes.
up at the 10th tee. and
Huge
first tee.
elevation change
Yeah.
to that lower half there.
Yep,
I
absolutely.
agree.
Yeah.
It's just majestic, I guess. I had high expectations, and it blew my expectations away.
Well,
Absolutely.
Yeah, I've never been there like you guys. I'm a little jealous.
We'll get you
but,
Keep trying.
maybe we can get a media pass next year or something.
That's
but-
what I was thinking about that last
Maybe you
night. How
can
we
find a
gonna-
caddy.
We're going to make that happen next year. But, one of the coolest things, there's between the actual course itself and then the tradition, the course itself. Two of the coolest things, or the coolest places I've been on the course, were behind the 11th tee after they moved it back. I don't know if you guys remember, probably about 10 years ago, they moved that tee back
Right.
and put it up on the hill as far back as they could by the trees.
Right.
Really extended that hole, made it much harder to
Right.
make birdies from there. But just watching how far they hit the ball and how little space they have to hit
Right.
on that hole from the tee box, and then down at 12th tee, if you're sitting or standing right behind the tee box there, you can see their shots and how high they hit them into 12. You can also peek over and see the tee shots coming out of 13.
Right.
And I think that's really the coolest place on the course, not necessarily for the action or the drama, but obviously there's a lot of that, but just as cool a place as there is down in the course itself. It's
You can
quiet
see a lot
back there, and you can see a lot of things
without moving around.
Right.
The depth of that 12th green is different when you see
Yeah.
it by eye.
Yes.
It's a lot
absolutely.
shallower than the television shows.
Right,
And
right.
most of those greens are very small.
Yep.
I thought 18 on TV was a mammoth green.
Right.
And the first time I walked out there, we got there early in the morning, there was no spectators there yet.
Mm-hmm.
And that green looks like it's about 2,500 square feet.
Yeah.
Very narrow and relatively long, but very narrow.
Yeah.
A TV makes it look a little bit bigger than it is.
Yeah. And it's protected by the bunker, and
Right.
it's an interesting place. There's a lot of nuances there that they,
Right.
playing there a lot. You get used to those with these newcomers. A lot of new guys out there.
Right.
We got eight rookies, I think, this year.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Well, a lot of people don't know that Amen Corner doesn't start till 11. They think it's 10,
Right.
11,
Right.
12. But Amen Corner actually starts at 11, and
Right.
that's where you I was listening to someone talk about their favorite. Oh, you know what it was? It was Justin Rose said his favorite part of the course was walking over that crest of the hill on 11. When you get to the top of it, that's kind of when Amen Corner begins for him.
Right.
You look down across that whole scene.
Right.
And you're right with the way high definition televisions have come along and the cameras they use and the expanded coverage of CBS, we really get to experience some of that stuff that you never could back,
Right.
like when Nicholas won it in '86, which
Yeah.
I watched on a black and white TV, if you can believe that.
Right.
I remember in '05, the year Tiger won. First year I had a high def TV and just couldn't believe what I was looking at. It's
much
just like
better
a
it was.
whole nother world.
Right.
Just looking at the flowers and how you could see the blades of grass and all that stuff. It was just amazing how much different the broadcast has become. And now they're doing an Ultra HD and 4D.
Yeah, I can't
4D,
remember when
3D.
my first HD. I was an early adopter of an HD television, and there wasn't a lot of programming that was even broadcast in HD
Right.
when it first came out. But the Masters was one thing,
Yep.
and boy, I for 4 days straight just sat in front of that TV, and that was only 720p, I think, too.
Right.
But it was just such a
It's
big
amazing.
leap.
No
So.
doubt.
But this year, everybody's got HD TVs, and so how about you, Rhett? What's one of your favorite things about the Masters?
Well, I think aside from those spots on the course, I think one of the coolest things I like is the crow's nest. And just I like always every year I've seen it before on the virtual tours and things where masters.com and but just going there and seeing how that happens and the amateurs get to stay up there and the history of the people who have stayed up there, from Nicholas and Arnold and all kinds, Tiger and all the big names that have been through the game over the years that have played there and won there. They've all basically stayed up there, so it's pretty cool. That's kind of my favorite thing. I like that part of it.
Yeah, I think my favorite thing about the event itself is, it's at the same course every year, which is so you get to know the course.
Right.
But it's also the first one of the year. And if you think about it, it stands alone because after they play it, there'll be a couple months until the U.S. Open, and then bang, British Open, bang, PGA, and then nothing. That's the end.
Yeah.
And the FedEx Cup was great. It's certainly worth watching, but it's been a long, long time since there's been a tournament, a major tournament. It's been since late July this year, wasn't it? Or was
Yeah.
it early
August.
early August?
Yeah.
Next
in
year,
August.
next year it's going to be,
Right, the schedule's a little different.
or
This
this
year.
coming year.
Yeah.
This coming year.
Yeah.
Well, the build-up, too, they start advertising for it on ESPN like around the Super Bowl.
Right.
And some of the playoff games in January and February. So it's like, oh, man, come on, let's get to this thing. And there's no build-up for it. There's no build-up for any other sporting event, really, other than the Masters like that, because you just know when it is on the calendar. Like you said, it's the same course every year.
I
And,
think even
so
for
much history
for the real non-big golf follower, if you watch that Sunday round, normally it's very theatrical.
Yes.
You go to work and people say, "Man, I watched it." And they don't normally watch golf tournaments, but usually get those fantastic finishes where somebody stumbles or somebody birdies the last four
Right.
coming out of the pack. There's a lot of theater involved in that as well.
No doubt.
So
No doubt.
I think people remember that, and then they go back and watch it again.
Yes, absolutely. Hopefully, though, maybe we can get a little bit more out of the winners. In the last couple of years, they said that I think there was a 36 and a 35 fired by the winner, so the drama hasn't really been there
Right.
the last couple of years.
Right.
So hopefully, what was it, 3 or 4 years ago when Bubba won against Usti was the
Right.
last time really there was
With some big shots.
some big shots hit at the end.
Yeah.
So hopefully
Yeah.
we'll get some more of that this year with all these guys seeming to round into form at the right time. This is going to could be a big one this year.
Right. I agree.
So, if you're planning on watching this on television this week, like I'm sure anybody listening to this podcast is,
Everybody that loves golf will be, right?
you can kick it off with the par 3 contest Wednesday, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. on ESPN. And then round 1 Thursday, they tee it off at 8 a.m. Live TV coverage starts at 3 o'clock to 7:30, which is really one of the frustrating things a little bit about the Masters is they limit it so much. But thanks to the internet, you can watch featured groups online at masters.org or cbssports.com. 9:30 a.m. to 7:30, they'll have probably a couple featured groups. Amen Corner Cam from 10:30 a.m. to 7:30. You can go to the range from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. and holes 15 and 16 from 11:30 to 7:30. So, I'll have it up here at work, and it's plenty enough, viewing pleasure. I actually kind of like watching a featured group the whole way around.
Yeah.
It kind of, you really follow along their whole round. They don't break away for any other shots.
Right.
They do a good job with the getting the groups you want to see too. So
That's right.
it's usually always good viewing.
Round 2 on Friday, same thing. They tee it up at 8. Live TV from 3 to 7:30 on ESPN. Featured groups, Amen Corner on the range and holes 15 and 16 online at masters.org and cbssports.com. Saturday, live TV coverage begins again, not till 3 o'clock, runs till 7 p.m. or so. Although the golf starts at 8 a.m., you can watch your featured groups at 10:30 in the morning to 7. And Amen Corner from noon to 7, holes 15 and 16 from 12:45 to 7. Then final round coverage on Sunday starts on CBS at 2 o'clock and runs to 7, or when it's finished. And they're also still streaming that stuff online. So not like other tournaments where you can turn to the Golf Channel for the early coverage and then over to the network. But again, one of the things that they limited sponsor commercial interruptions, they say, and what that amounts to is about 2 minutes an hour or so at the end of the hour.
Beautiful thing.
It is. I agree.
And if you haven't ever been to masters.org, that's a fantastic place to go during the tournament online to see the latest videos and news, and it really is one of the most beautiful websites I've ever seen. Yeah. They do an amazing job there. And then another place I love to go for information is the Augusta Chronicle website at augusta.com. You get a local perspective, and they really go all out with their coverage of the Masters. So,
I think on the masters.org you can also get in the lottery for tickets for next year.
Oh, is that where you go? Huh?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, so for those listeners, if you really want to go,
give it a try.
But you don't get notified until like August or September if you got it.
I try it every year, and
me too.
For the practice rounds.
Yeah.
Well, but for both, and it's tough every year. I get that letter saying, "Hey, thanks for trying," but no, you didn't.
I know a guy. There's a guy from town I know that's a member at St. Falls Country Club that actually is going down. Doug Paradise got in the lottery and got picked. And yeah, he's down there now.
Yeah, it's one of those things. You get in one of these years, you'll get it.
Yep.
It's probably not as random as they say it is. So.
Well, I don't know what the odds actually are on that. I don't think they really release them, but I bet you it's probably under 10%.
I used to know that about 50,000 practice round tickets were sold or offered. Right, that's a huge crowd for out there. Right,
there's bigger crowds for the practice round than the actual tournament.
Yes, there are. But I bet there's millions of people applying.
Oh yeah.
So you're right. So the odds have got to be pretty astronomical. To get lucky. So.
And that's for a practice round.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which will be fine by me.
The badge I think is good luck.
Believe me, just to go there and walk the grounds and be there for whatever day of the week it is. I mean, obviously the tournament is great, but you're not seeing everything at the tournament. It's better to watch it on TV almost. Right. The practice rounds and Wednesday part 3, all that stuff is you can really go check things out, watch your guys and walk the course.
And like with any major championship that I've ever gone to, up here in Rochester especially, I'll go for Thursday. I've gone Thursday, Friday, and Saturday before, and then sit home on Sunday and really enjoy watching the coverage and, really knowing firsthand what's going on out there on the ground. So, so anyways, let's get into it here with our official preview. This year's field is set at, we think, 90 golfers, but Fred Couples withdrew to maybe make it 89. Tiger withdrew to make it 89. Then Jim Herman won the Shell Houston Open to snag that exemption. And then Fred Couples withdrew.
This afternoon.
So it should be at 89 right now. And really, it's not the 89 best golfers in the world. Larry Mize is in the crowd.
Right.
You can grab him at 9,000 to 1 odds to win. Which, hey,
what's Watson's odds? He's got to be a little higher than that, no?
No, the highest is Mize.
Wow, they got Tom Watson over Larry Mize.
Well, he might be off the books
he might not be able to be picked, huh?
No, I would think if Mize could be, that Watson could be.
Take a shot, right? They'll take your money. The Vegas will take your money if you're going to put money on Tom Watson. His last one, by the way.
Oh, this is his last Masters,
his last Masters, Yep. He's done after this year.
So of the field, past champs account for 18 of the players. Other major champs get a 5-year exemption. Top 4 at last year's majors get invites. The top 12 plus ties from last year's Masters are here. At Augusta, they always honor the amateurs, so you'll see the U.S. Am champ, the British Am, the Asia Pacific Am, the Latin America amateur champ, and the U.S. Mid-Am champ will be in the field. And tour winners in the past year including the qualifiers from the Tour Championship. All the golfers that qualify for the Tour Championship at the end of the FedEx Cup playoffs are there. Top 50 in the world golf rankings from the previous year and the week before the Masters. Now, bumping it up and taking it from the list that came out a week ago, the Mexican Rafael Bello.
Yeah.
He did good in the match play.
Yes.
Bumped into the top 50. Now he's going to the Masters.
Yep.
Right.
So there's your field. And, I think we got to start with the defending champ, Jordan Spieth. He hasn't finished worse than second in only two starts, which is amazing in its own right that the kid can come to this course as a rookie and have a win in a second place. Tied the Masters scoring record last year too, which when we all remember Tiger rolling over that course and Spieth, tied that mark. So 8-1 odds for Jordan Spieth. What do you think, fellas? Good odds on Jordan Spieth there? 8-1 is a good bet.
Hard to go against him, but it's one of those things where he's played good earlier in the year, and now he's kind of not struggling, but kind of up and down a little more. And now I don't know if he's kind of just all fooling us, baiting us into thinking he's a little rough, rough around the edges right now. But I don't have him as my winner, but you got to like his odds.
Yeah, I don't have him as a winner either. It looks like he's working hard, and what came very easy to him last year is not coming very easy.
Right.
Everything went his way last year. I just don't sense it. I'd say for definitely a top 10 pick, but I don't think he's going to be a threat. I think he's a shot a round off his game.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's the difference of a top 10 to a victory.
Yeah, I think, and we'll give our official picks here at the end of the show. But Spieth's not my pick either. He's, I think, with any success like the kid his age has, unless you're Tiger, it changes things a little bit. I think he took his eye off the ball a little bit.
Right.
And, I think he's going to be working hard now to get it back, but probably not by... But certainly, though, strong possibility.
He's always on the leaderboard, so it's a worthy pick. He's
Absolutely.
on the leaderboard. So
now, any of you guys watch 60 Minutes with Bubba Watson?
Haven't seen it yet.
I haven't either, but apparently he has some mental issues that affect maybe some of the crazy stuff we see him do out there.
He doesn't like people.
And he comes in after already winning at Riviera this year, 2-time Augusta champ at 12-1 odds, and Bubba's loves the course. Obviously, is winning it twice, and 12-1 odds. I think that's a good bet too, although not my pick.
I mean, it's hard to. I mean, Bubba's won twice. He seems to get himself around that golf course, and he hits the ball a long ways.
Yeah,
and it's a length type golf course, helps you out.
Yeah, absolutely. He's putting in spots where others aren't.
Yep, I think he's a solid top 10. I don't know if I'd pick him to win or not either, but he's tough to turn your back on him.
Yeah. One thing though, I don't know what he's thinking, but there's going to be some people there this week, so I hope he can deal with the crowds, because apparently he doesn't like people too much.
Wow.
Hey, you worked pretty close to Bubba Watson at the PGA Merchandise Show when you were down there for GolfJ.com.
Yeah. I was trying to use the restroom, and there was a bunch of security in front of the door, and I was like, "What's going on here?" And I figured, okay, well, obviously it's a tour players here, but I know Bubba's supposed to be over two booths over in about 5 minutes. My guess is Bubba's going to be in there. And he walked right by me. There he was. Bubba Watson had to take a break. He doesn't like people in the bathroom either.
Security guard protected him, huh?
Yeah, they weren't letting anybody in the bathroom.
Now, I think one of the stories of the year so far has been Adam Scott, 2013 Masters champ, back-to-back titles to kick off the Florida swing, and in contention, played well at the match play as well, and all the talk of the long putter. Well, we'll see how well he's putting this week at Augusta, but certainly a contender there in Adam Scott.
Yep.
And then here's the interesting thing, because I was kind of writing off Phil Mickelson.
Don't do it.
His career, but he's had a great year.
Yes. 3-time
Masters champ, and so far this season he leads the tour in scoring.
Yeah.
So he's 15-1 odds.
Did he? How many did he play in Florida? He played a lot in California, and he played. Did he play the Honda? No, he played 1 or 2 in Florida.
Doral?
And then he
played Doral.
He played Doral, and then he played at
He didn't
Houston.
play Tampa.
No, and he played in Houston. So he's rounding into form as well. it's hard to pick against him too.
One thing, he always has a plan to get ready for this week.
Yeah, he definitely does.
Last week when he got beaten in match play, he went to Augusta and played a couple practice rounds, then flew back to play Houston because he likes the conditions are about the same. They marvel about that all the time, right?
Yeah.
And then obviously he's back there practicing again. So his whole winter and spring has been focused on this week.
And he's always played the week before. Even when the tournament was the Bell South or whatever it was in Georgia the week before they moved to Houston and changed the schedule. He played in that, and he won it a couple times the years that he won the Masters.
Yes.
So he always gears towards playing. He said yesterday he was talking. He said he just likes competing the week before and not just going out and practicing. And he gets him ready for it.
I think that's one of the great things about this tournament too, is that that every one of the world's top players is gearing towards this.
Yes, they are.
Guy like Jim Herman, maybe not, and these other guys who are, obviously the Masters is a bigger tournament than, any of the regular tour stops. But for the 50th and up ranked players in the world that are out there, any win is big to them. But everybody else, the top players, really gear their games towards the first major of the year, which is the Masters. And so when they all arrive and are chumming around, on Monday and Tuesday, there's this huge sense of anticipation amongst all the players. And that's one of the things that makes this special, because it's the first and you can prepare for it throughout the winter and lead into it, And then you can also do the same as far as the U.S. Open goes. But like I said, after that, you're in the heart of the season, and the other two just pop up. You kind of go play. Maybe you take a week off and go over early for the British, but and some guys go over and play the Scottish. But the Masters, everybody is like, for months, is just trying to peak their game.
Well, it's like we said too, with the tradition and stuff. You're talking about a tournament where if you win on tour during the year and you're not eligible before that, you're going to the Masters. Nobody says, you're going to the British Open until a week before.
Right.
Every win that somebody gets that hasn't won before on tour, now all of a sudden that's an automatic ticket to the Masters. How many times did we say that in the fall when those guys were winning the first time?
Except for Tony Finau.
Well, except for Tony Finau, who hasn't yet qualified because I guess he didn't win the right tournament. I don't know if you want to talk about that now or we can get to that later. But
well, we can talk about it now. He won the Puerto Rican Open. That's a split field event, and unless it's a full FedEx Cup event, you don't get to go to the Masters, which I'm fine with. I'm fine with that. I think that I wouldn't mind if this Masters field was cut to 70 or 75, even more exclusive. But it's too bad if you're Tony Finau.
I think I'm not totally upset with it, but I think if it wasn't Tony Finau, who I like a lot, I love the guy. He bombs it. He's a great personality. He's his story growing up and coming up is a good one. So I think the fact that he's the one that won it and is not in, I think he would be enjoyable to watch and see play at Augusta. I think the patrons would like it as well. But no offense to Herman, but if he won last week and wasn't in, I don't think I'd care. But because it's Tony Finau, I might have a little more bias towards it. But he did win a PGA Tour event, and it was only split field, and it's not as much deal with the FedEx Cup, but it was a PGA Tour event. And the fall series PGA Tour events, they aren't the greatest fields either, and there's a lot of guys that aren't in them. So. It just feels like maybe he should have gotten in. It's one more guy. If the field
he should have got into.
Yeah, if the field was smaller, like you're saying, I could see it. But he won the tournament.
Right. I think he should be in for a couple of reasons. First, I have him in another pool that I'm in, so I want him in the event.
Right.
But this being an off event based on a World Golf event would be different than the event that's held the same week as the British Open.
Right.
Because everybody can go qualify for the British Open. It's a limited field to get in the Masters. Okay. So a limited field to get in the World Golf event.
Right.
Top 65, right?
Something like that.
64, 65, right?
Yep.
So most of those guys who are in that World Golf event wouldn't have gone to Puerto Rico if there wasn't a World Golf event.
Right.
Right. But the tour would have gone there.
Right.
So I totally believe he should be in. There used to be a couple that were held opposite the U.S. Open, opposite the British Open. I don't think those would, because that's a real watered down field.
Sure.
This field wasn't watered down by a whole lot.
Right.
I mean, Ian Poulter was in it because he didn't get in the top.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of others too. This wasn't filled up with buy.com guys.
Definitely not.
So, plus I wanted him to be in the event because of my other pool.
Right.
So,
exactly. Exactly. He's a good guy.
I think he could win there too. He's a bomber.
Yeah.
He hits it 400 yards.
Yeah. Well,
okay.
I mean,
there's all these other ways to qualify.
I know.
You're right. But we're just talking about like 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
Guy wins. He gets in. It was just a bummer that he's not in there. He'd be fun to watch.
I agree.
He'll get in eventually, but.
Sure.
be top 50 or whatever, or win a real so-called real PGA Tour event.
Well, let's make our way down through some of the players, and I've started with the past champs here. That's why you haven't heard me mention Rory McIlroy or Jason Day yet, or Dustin Johnson. But a few more past champs with a chance to compete this year, and the next one on my list, Charles Schwartzel at 40-1 odds, 2011 winner. Already 3 wins this season on the European and PGA Tours, and not a guy that a lot of people think of as a top 10 type of player, but here at Augusta, I think he's got to be at the top 10, and again, 40-1 odds seems like a lot. I might be laying down a lot of money on a lot of guys.
I think those odds are high. I really do.
Yeah.
And he's in form, too. He moved up the leaderboard over the weekend, right? His name, I saw him on TV towards the end.
Yep.
So he moved up a little bit. He's been playing well all year.
Yeah.
Plus, this is a tournament you haven't got to go 25 under par to win.
No.
Right? So he's kind of a plotter as well. I think the odds are high. Too high.
And as a guy to have any of these guys who are still in their prime that have won before have a decided advantage over everybody else. There's less pressure when they get to the back nine. There will be less pressure. Number one, they know they did it before, and number two, if they don't come through, it's not as devastating when you can go back home and look at you can go back to your champion's locker room, inside and
you're coming back next year, guaranteed.
Right. True.
Yeah.
Right. So, but I was surprised at those odds on Schwartzel, and also a little bit surprised on the odds of Zach Johnson at 50-1. He's won 2 majors ago. He won the British Open, and you're going to say he's 50-1 at a course he's won before at?
Yeah, it's crazy to think that he is being so overlooked.
Right.
In fact, he's a former winner, 2-time major winner. He makes every cut he makes pretty much every term he ever enters. He's in the cup.
That seems more out of line than Charles Schwartzel's.
But
yeah, I agree with that.
So,
it goes to show you how much emphasis they're putting on the long hitters now.
but the forecast is to be dry, other than Thursday. So this place dries up. So Zach's drive will roll out more.
Absolutely.
And if those greens firm up, it comes that wedge game.
Yep.
And that's his strong suit.
Absolutely. Right? He laid up at in 07 when he won.
Every one, right?
Yeah.
So
he's got a great caddy.
Yes, he does.
Yeah, we have. He's been a special guest here. Great guy.
So, as I mentioned, those are all the past winners who I think that we just talked about. But I have a feeling that the winner might come from some of these other guys that we're going to talk about. And I'll lead it off right now with the number 1 player in the world, Jason Day, coming off consecutive victories at Bay Hill and the match play. And he's the favorite at 7-1 odds. And I would say rightfully so. He won the last major at the PGA, and
6 out of the last 13 events he's won.
He's got the distance, he's got the short game, he's got the mental aspect. I think it's Jason Day's time, and I'm not going to give any spoilers, but at the end of the show when we make our picks, I might be going with Jason Day, right?
It's tough not to pick him.
I agree. He's got to be the favorite.
Yeah.
There's no doubt.
Yeah.
He's been hot since last summer now, right?
Well, the last time the guy won 2 going into it and won the 3rd one was Tiger, right? I think when he won.
Yeah.
And Day to me seems to be the only guy on tour right now. And Rory McIlroy fans might, argue with me, and Jordan Spieth fans might argue with me, but I think that Day is the closest to being Tiger Woods of the current day.
He's peaking right now as far as overall, not just 1 week, but consistently playing. He's in form.
No doubt he's in form.
Yeah.
And you can find weaknesses if you want to call Jordan Spieth's lack of distance off the tee a weakness, or some of the struggles that McIlroy's had over the past year.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't see any weaknesses in Day's game except for maybe his physical health, which he's had a bad back and some vertigo and some other issues. But for Jason Day, if he can win this one, maybe he could win 2 or 3 majors. I mean, that's the question to me. Is Jason Day as good as I think he really is right now? Or is it maybe a bit of a mirage?
He certainly hasn't done anything to prove you otherwise the way he's been playing. I mean, his August and last year and this year so far 2 wins, and then they sprinkled in the others last year. I mean, what would give you a reason not to pick him if you're picking a fantasy team, or you have 1 pick for the Masters, like him against the field type of thing. He's playing, like you said, kind of like Tiger did back in the day.
He's playing better than anybody. He lost 11 pounds since his last event. He got the flu.
Right.
The Golf Channel had a little thing on him today. That's a lot of weight to lose.
For better or worse, though, with a bad back, that could help him.
Well, maybe. But the flu, I mean, it probably
Weakened
kicked
him
his
up
pants
a
as
little
well. The only thing I got concerns from long term is his health.
Yeah.
Because I think he's swinging as hard as Tiger did, and look what Tiger's got going on now.
Right.
So if he backed that off a little bit, could he get 10 extra years? He hits it far enough.
Right.
So go 310 rather than 320, and add some years to your career, because he's got an awful lot of muscle pulls and back spasms, and he just. And this is a tough golf course to walk if you got a bad back.
True, that's true.
If it does flare up at all, so
we'll be interested to see if they say anything next couple of days about how many holes he's actually playing in practice rounds. Whether he's
okay. So they did today.
Yeah.
He played. He got there late because he was sick. He was going to get there Thursday. He got there Friday.
Right.
He played 9 holes Saturday, 9 holes Sunday, 9 holes today, 9 holes tomorrow. He's playing 9 holes each day.
Yeah, that's a light
Yeah.
practice regimen for sure.
Yep. And then, of course, he's doing some range time, but
Sure.
he's only playing 9 holes a day. So, but I think most of them do that. They're very seldom they get, if they're going to play 18, it would be tomorrow.
Right.
All right. But
All depends on how the money games go too, right?
sure.
Who's playing with Phil and
Yeah.
who's
But he's got to be the
throwing some
favorite.
big money on the practice.
Jason's, to me, hands down the favorite.
Yeah.
I can't argue with that.
Flu or no flu?
Well, apparently it's over with, or he wouldn't be there,
Yeah,
I guess, But
bad back or no back too.
Yeah.
He won the match play is a grinder. I mean,
Yes,
you're
it
playing.
is.
But he end up with 7 rounds.
I thought he was
so-
done when I saw him
Yeah,
walking
first
that
day.
day.
Sure.
Oh,
First day.
And that's the thing, too, is that how bad can it be if he wins that event? You know,
Right.
it looked like that was about as bad as it could have
Yeah.
been. He didn't know
Right.
if he's going to be able to show up the next day.
I mean, you think about it. This guy's tough. I mean, what he did at the
It's a swing oil.
at the U.S. That's right. The U.S. Open last year, though.
Sure,
I mean,
dropped
he
down.
goes down mid-round. Not only finishes that round, he finishes at the tournament.
Almost
I mean,
won it.
Yeah. I mean, you could see probably the end of that Sunday it got to him. But man, I mean,
Most golfers would have withdrawn.
yeah, vertigo.
Oh,
We've seen Tiger withdraw
Yeah.
with less.
He'd walk
His
right off the
glutes
course.
didn't activate.
his knuck or his wrist bone was popped out. And he had to pop it back in.
Did you guys read the golf.com golf magazine piece on our Sports Illustrated piece on Tiger?
No.
Very good.
It's
yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing. You should read
Take a
it.
look
It
at
really lays out. I guess just to go a little bit off topic, because Tiger's not going to be at Augusta. He just announced last week.
Right.
He may have known a month ago, but
Right.
he maybe. But they speculated in that article that perhaps some of these injuries, the Tiger lost a little interest. And when you look at Tiger's career, considering that, assuming that he doesn't get back to his previous glory, and this is it. You're going to look back and he's going to have that byline of saying it was injuries. You know, he could have done it, but the injuries. Whereas if he didn't have these injuries, the byline would have been he could have done it, but he screwed it up with his personal life. So it's a real good article. Can't remember the author. Rhett, remember the author?
No, I don't.
It was a cover story on Sports Illustrated.
Guys. But yeah, you're right. It was interesting for the fact that, he's so much turmoil, whether it's injuries or, the issues in 2009 we all know about. It's just amazing. It's really been a pretty big fall from grace, so to speak. I mean, he had the great year in 2013 where he won 5 times, but he didn't win any majors. I think he was close at the British that year, but he didn't win any majors. But he got Player of the Year. But then right after that, basically, he's fallen off the face.
Sure is.
I mean, last year in Charlotte, he played well, but
it is sad because right
injured.
now, if he truly is done, that's all we're going to remember.
Yeah.
Is these last 4 or 5 years of really
Right.
bad golf. We're going to forget about
And
the
it would-
spectacular stuff that we saw.
And it would be great if he was competing now with these younger guys like
Yes.
Day,
Yeah.
McIlroy, and
Right.
Spieth.
Right.
I mean, it'd be amazing if they were to
Absolutely.
meet in the final round of a major.
Sure.
But another interesting takeaway, I think, from that article is that Tiger Woods' dad kind of groomed him, kept telling him, "You're the most important guy since." He put him on par. Who'd he meet?
like
He met somebody.
the Dalai Lama or something.
Yeah, he
like
met
that.
he met like the Dalai Lama or Gandhi or something like that, and Earl Wood said to him,
It's Billy,
maybe
it's
Tiger's
Billy Payne calling
in.
it. The press passes came through. Get on a plane tomorrow, and we'll be down at the Masters.
But he said, Earl Woods told him, he goes, "You finally met someone who's as great as you,
Right.
who's on par."
Well, he called him the chosen one when he was growing up.
Right.
and everything. I mean,
So interesting thing is that when Tiger was dominant, he had a mean streak. He was egotist. All the things that people didn't like about his personality are what made him great.
Right.
And then when he got in the trouble and had to change his public image a little bit and had to be a nicer guy, he lost that edge. Yeah. So we could have a whole show about Tiger, but for now, let's talk about people that are playing in the Masters, like Rory McIlroy, 4-time major winner. He's trying now for the second time to win the career Grand Slam. He held the lead going into the back nine and had a historic implosion a couple of years ago. And, what do you guys think about Rory's chances? Doug, I know you like Rory's chances.
I like Rory's chances. I'm surprised at the odds here at 8-1. I think that's awful low. I think he'd be more at 12 or 15-1.
Yeah, because he hasn't had recent success.
He's not on point. I mean, he fell apart at, was it Durrell? He had the lead going into one of those final rounds.
He played okay 2 weeks ago, but he lost in the consolation match, which was surprising.
He had the lead in the 72-hole event going to the final round.
Yeah, I think it was Durrell.
Durrell.
Yeah. I don't think he's played since.
And he didn't play well at all. He played 3 good rounds prior to that, and then it almost like his whole body image was, he was moping around the whole golf course. So I don't think he's on point necessarily.
And not necessarily uninterested, but he doesn't seem like he's into it like he's been in past years, where the year he won 2 majors and he had that run in the 2 years where he won 3. I mean, he had that killer instinct and was really, you could tell there was an air of invincibility around him that you don't see right now.
So you got to wonder the same kind of thing with Jordan Spieth right now. For Rory back then, 2, 3, 4 years ago, everything came so easy to him, right? He just dominated everybody. So did he know why he was dominating? Maybe, and now he's slipping a little bit. He can't get out of it.
Right.
Because it just came easy, and that's just the way it was.
Sure.
I mean, he's not washed. He's what, 26, I believe. He just turned 26.
Not.
Yeah.
He's probably he's getting married, so maybe that's.
Well, yeah, that could have a lot to do with it.
Distraction, you
think of it though too. He was on the front end of these young guns coming out, and like you said, he was kind of probably didn't even know what he was doing at the time. Like, I mean, he knew what he was doing, but just happy-go-lucky, just playing. You know, not really worrying about anything. There wasn't any Jordan Spieth, Jason Day wasn't there yet. To compare him to, or to take some of the eyes off of him. Dustin Johnson was up and down, but now there's so many of them out there that are, Ricky. You can make a case for Ricky Fowler any week. He's up and down. You really don't know what to expect from him from week to week. But nobody thought he was going to win the Players last year, I'm sure, and he won that.
But I tell you can't hang your career on the Players. Like that's one thing about Ricky that's got me worried. He's behind these other guys now.
Yeah.
They keep saying Ricky's part of the Big Four. I don't think so.
Right. Yeah.
No, I don't think he earns that at all.
I'd say Bubba before Ricky right now. He's got 2 major wins,
I agree.
Yeah.
And they didn't talk about Bubba in the Big Four.
No.
No. I don't know.
Don't forget Adam Scott. He's all right too.
Yeah, I think that Spieth and Day have taken McIlroy down a peg. I thought he might come out full of vigor this year to get after it and get his number 1 ranking back. But he might be trying so darn hard he can. I don't know, but because it seems more mental than anything else. And when I see him on television, anyways,
he seems to like the good life too. I think maybe he's a little comfortable.
Couple of pints.
Yeah, he likes some pints. He likes his Bose headphones.
He's from Ireland, so
I mean, he's enjoying living the high life. You know what I mean? You can tell he definitely likes the appearances. He likes all of that goes with it.
He's got physically fit now, and that doesn't always work. Tiger did that, and you don't know. I mean, Jason Day, does he work out like Tiger did? I don't know. But Rory, all of a sudden, I saw him doing some squats of some sort with
crazy
400 pounds or something like that.
He took Tiger's workouts to another level. I think.
So you got to be careful of your back, and I don't know. So I think Rory's close, but we'll see.
Yeah, it's hard to say that definitely the kid's going to win multiple more majors, but as for this year, I don't know. But
he'll be there. He'll be in the mix. You got to imagine.
So. We mentioned the reigning Players champ, Ricky Fowler. His odds are 15-1. Going to run off some guys here. Justin Rose, 25-1. Dustin Johnson, 20-1. Louis Oosthuizen, 30-1, which seems wild. Henrik Stenson, who turns 40 today, I believe, 20-1. Brent Snedeker, who won at Torrey Pines this year, at 50-1. Patrick Reed, 40-1. Hideki Matsuyama, 30-1. And Danny Willett, 50-1. Any of those names, you guys got any thoughts on any of those names I just rattled off? Because I rattled off a lot of them, and they're all contenders.
Yeah, I mean, Justin Rose, you got to imagine, when is it going to be the year that he comes through at the Masters. He's just such a solid player.
Yeah, he is.
Just wonder why he hasn't won more majors.
Right.
You know, he's always in contention, it seems like, and he has good years. And when he broke through at the U.S. Open, it was a great win for him. You thought he might take that and go with it, but you know, I like how he's been playing lately. That's a good number right there. I take that at 25 to 1.
And what about DJ, Doug? Dustin Johnson is playing great golf now, where he struggled over towards that summer last year. Yeah. But I mean, he's the major. He's the Greg Norman, I guess, of today. He's always there with a chance to win, but never seems to close it.
Right. So this past week, Dustin Johnson was the best putter in that tournament.
Right.
He had the best putts per round, whatever, right? Which is surprising. Although stats are misleading because you could miss the green by an inch and you putt, and it's not a putt, and all that. But that's the way it goes. I was surprised to hear that. He certainly got the long game, and it seems to have the touch and his chipping and all that.
Yeah.
When he's like he blew up at Pebble Beach that one year, it was really mental. Yeah. He melted down hard. He did the same thing at the British Open. He hit it out of bounds, right? When
so if he puts himself in position again this year,
I'm afraid.
Do you think he'll melt down again? Yeah.
Well,
the slick greens, 18th hole slides right by.
You know, I was pulling for him to make that eagle putt last year and get that monkey off his back. Right. But then he 3-putts it besides. It makes it even worse. Because you go get beat in a playoff, you don't get the same scrutiny as you do a 3-putting from 10, 12 feet.
Yeah.
You know?
Right. You'll never forget that.
I truly hope for his sake he gets in contention in one of these majors and wins it.
Yeah.
Okay? And maybe he plays a great shot and hits it to a foot like Jerry Pate did and taps it in and the crowd goes nuts and all that.
Well, if I was him, I'd be trying to think of he won a major and had it taken away from him.
Yes, he did.
You know, with a penalty shot. But in his mind, he did everything he needed to win. It was a technicality.
Yes.
But since then, you actually want to happy. You're like, oh, he'll probably win 2 of the next 4 majors.
Right.
But it's like a huge hurdle that he needs to overcome, and he may never.
Oh.
Yes, you're right. He's a sympathetic choice. I think everybody would be happy to see him win.
Well, I mean, a lot of people would be happy to see him win just for the post round hug on the 18th green with Mr. Gretzky's daughter.
Yeah.
That's why I'm not too sympathetic, towards him. Win or lose, hey, he's
doing okay.
Doing okay for himself.
It helps ratings, Not that CBS needs any help with ratings at the Masters, but it's always good to see. I don't mind Jason Day ever winning either because,
yeah, right.
The wags always, find their way to the 18th green, and it's always good viewing.
Well, let me tell you, just throw some other names out here for you guys because I think that these are surprisingly long odds. For Brooks Koepka, Matt Kuchar, Mark Leishman, Sergio Garcia, and Paul Casey are all 60 to 1. And I don't know. I think if you played the tournament 60 times, that each one of those guys would pick up one of the wins.
Right.
Of course, none of them win a major.
Not all really in good form, though, right now, I would say.
Casey seems to be the best of all that on the list.
Garcia,
but
maybe.
Kuchar does well at the Masters.
Right.
Yeah, he does.
He did finish in the top 12 last year, but historically he's done well.
Right.
But Casey was sick a couple weeks ago, too, right? He walked off against Day.
I think Jimmy Walker's odds are a little
Well, there's the other two,
too.
Jimmy Walker and Brandon Grace, 80 to 1. Especially, I think you say Walker, I say Grace. I think
Walker
Grace
hasn't had a good year,
but Grace at 80 to 1.
He's a machine.
And I think he missed the cut last year at Augusta, but
he was in the hunt at the U.S. Open, right?
All the other majors, he's top 5, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
But and then I mentioned again Larry Mize 9,000 to 1. If you want to take a shot on it, Larry Mize has a little magic left.
Maybe one more chip.
So better buck.
But then looking through the rest of these, Justin Thomas 100 to 1, Bill Haas 100 to 1, Jason Duffner 100 to 1, Kevin Kisner, Charlie Hoffman, J.B. Holmes. These Danny Lee 150 to 1. I mean,
Vegas likes the chalk.
Yeah, well, I guess you would, but it's. But the tour is so deep now that I don't see how you could make a guy like Danny Lee 150 to 1. I mean, I'm going to put $5 on all these guys.
Kevin Na, I mean, he's played the place before. That list you just read off. I mean, those guys are all have played there plenty of times. Some major winners in there.
Webb Simpson is a major winner, 200 to 1.
Yeah, but where have you seen him this year?
I agree.
He's struggling with that short putter.
Russell Knox 200 to 1. These are. I mean, I could go on and on with some of these guys. Scott Piercy 200 to 1.
Graham McDowell.
But Smiley Kaufman, 200-1. He's top 10 FedEx Cup guy right now, point-wise.
First time there, though, too, right?
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree that they are longer shots than the guys we spent time talking about tonight. But
you want to talk about a young guy that might just come out and not even just be unconscious and not even be caring about where he's at? Is Bryson DeChambeau. He might come out and throw out some numbers that
with the professor, the mad professor
at 250-1. He's worth a shot.
Vegas thinks this thing's top heavy, obviously, and there's like 15 potential winners, and that's it.
Yeah, they're going with the number one seeds.
Bernard Longer, 500-1. He's former champion, the Champions Tour or whatever they call it now. The new what do they call it? It's not the Champions Tour anymore. It's the well, regardless, he's a senior tour
Champions Tour,
senior tour champ.
Right.
Yeah. Streb
300-1, 500-1, but
yeah, there's some good names as long shots, but more than likely we won't see any of them near the top at the end of the day.
So let's kick it over now for a little Golf J trivia. If you know the answer to this, you can tweet it at the Golf J. We'll give you the answer at the end of the show. I want to know what two golfers hold the course record of 63 at Augusta, and I'll let you guys take your chance here in studio at the end of the show and see if you know the answer to that. What two golfers hold the course record of 63 at Augusta? Answer coming up shortly here on the podcast. But if you know it now, tweet your answer at the Golf J, and the first person to do so will win a sweet Golf J hat. So, I want to talk about something. I think it's a dirty little secret about Augusta for me, is that every year I watch it, and Amen Corner comes around, and you got 10, 11, the par 3 12th, and then the par 5s at 13 and 15, and the great par 3 at 16. I mean, it is the most amazing stretch to watch during championship golf, and I know it so well. For me, though, once they leave 16, 17, 18 are two of the boringest golf holes in the history of golf. And 18 is a challenging finishing hole, no doubt.
Right.
But
I'd agree with you on 17. 17 doesn't have a whole lot to it when you compare it to the others. 18, it's straight out that chute. It's 18, the last hole. I mean, if you're coming to the last group and you got the lead and you're looking down that chute with all those people there, and you got about 15 feet, and then you're going straight up a hill that nobody realizes is up that hill that high, and you got to get it. You don't want it over to the right because the trees take you out of play there, and you got the trap on the left. Maybe
compare it to the finishing hole at the Shell Houston Open this week.
Oh.
Our most finishing holes, there's just more options for trouble.
Right.
I think
the pressure of the event.
it's tough to make a double on 18 at Augusta.
You
Easy
could-
to make a bogey.
Yeah, well, there
tough
you go,
to make a
though.
birdie. Tough to make a double.
If it's easy to make a bogey, that's all you need. If you're coming down with a one-shot lead and you make that bogey, I don't think they're looking for you to make a double there. I don't think they're worried about. Like I said, I think it's more the pressure of the moment and the event, and it's a hard hole already, without doing much to it. I think lends to it. Now there hasn't been much drama at 18 recently, so I think that might lend a little bit.
Even
to
the
it as
way
well.
the crowd is around the green, I'm not a fan of 17 and 18 at Augusta. And maybe, to me, it's the excitement of all the holes leading up to it.
I agree. Because it seems like when you walk off 16, there's a sigh of relief. If you got the guy in the lead, he's your guy.
Right.
You probably figure he's going to win, because there's not a whole lot of trouble coming up, and there's no eagles coming up, basically, right? But for some reason, there's been an awful lot of putts on 18 that have either been made or missed to get into a playoff, historically, because you're going to use that front pin like they did for the drive, chip, and putt yesterday.
Right.
I assume that'd be the same finishing spot. But you think about how many times somebody putted from the left side to the right side to make a putt to either win or get into a playoff.
I remember Mickelson. I remember Scott.
DeMarco's chip. that he
DeMarco had
missed.
a couple putts there,
And putt.
a couple chips. You're
Yeah.
absolutely right. But I remember back to the day Johnny Miller,
Yeah.
Tom Weiskopf, both had putts from that same spot where those kids were putting from yesterday
Right.
to Ty Nicklaus. Okay, so there's historically drama on 18. It's just not water related or
Right.
an eagle, something spectacular. Sandy Lyle made a birdie putt to beat Tom Watson.
Yeah. How about the shot he hit in there when he
Yes, out of the
hit
bunker.
it up top and he
Yeah.
backed it all the way down right to the hole.
Right.
Sandy Lyle had a memorable shot in 18 from the sand.
That's the one we're talking about.
Oh,
right.
yeah, right.
And how,
Yeah.
how about Greg Norman hitting the crowd against Nicklaus?
Yep.
But Nicklaus won on 86. Greg Norman had to make a birdie. And Norman parked it in the crowd on the right, and the crowd erupted.
Right.
Happy.
Yeah.
Okay?
Didn't
Poor Greg Norman.
the year, it was probably 10, 12 years ago, that when Watson's last time that he was in contention coming down to the end there, I think he was a few groups ahead, but he hit it into the right trees and essentially ended his shot at winning it. And there's plenty of damage you can do on that hole. I think 17, though, I agree, is very vanilla.
Yep.
The green on the back where they put the pin makes it tough, and sometimes you see guys blowing it over to the right and having to come over the trees, but that one not as much. I think 18, though, is a great finishing hole.
I just think, Jimmy's defense, I think those first 7 holes in the back 9 are tremendous holes.
Yeah.
So the last 2 kind of suffer by comparison.
Right.
Because it is
corner.
They talk about that tournament starting on the 10th hole on Sunday.
Yeah.
That's not a lie. That's a pretty accurate statement.
I think also you say you give a sigh of relief when you leave 16. I think if you're 1 or 2 back from the leader and you walk off a 16, your chances of picking up another birdie are slim.
Yeah, I agree.
And so that's a little deflating too. You don't got that guy storming back.
Right. That's why I say I think if you had your guy walk off 16 with the lead, 90% of the time he wins.
Yeah, you're feeling good.
Okay. I mean, Charles Schwartzer birdied the last 4. That's rare.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a great accomplishment though if you
Yes.
can do it on 17 and 18.
Right.
I mean, they're not easy holes. There's just a little vanilla compared, I think, to the holes leading up to it. But
I agree with you halfway on that.
So let's see it, fellas. Let's see our official picks. What I'd like is a deep sleeper, a pick that maybe is higher than that 50-1 odds, and then a favorite. I mean, I'll start. My favorite is Jason Day. He's my pick.
Let's see the picture.
I think. Oh, that's true. Here he is. I should have. There he is. And we're gonna see him, and her lifting the
Miss Ellie Day.
Yep. So he'll be down in the swing oil and ready to go. My pick's Jason Day, and is my solid pick. I'm going with Brooks Koepka. Seems to me like it's about that time for Koepka. He's been playing well this year, and he's played well in Augusta in the past, and he could be the breakout guy this year. So I like Koepka's chance, and my deep sleeper, Larry Mize.
Way deeper than that.
It isn't going to be Larry Mize, but it is going to be Smiley Kaufman. For just because every now and then you get this feeling, and I something about Smiley maybe puts it together. He's my deep sleeper. That would be really a story if Smiley won it.
You said about 50-1 odds, but you really took it way back from there.
Oh yeah, well hey, I like to go deep with my deep sleeper.
I might have
picks.
to give 2 for the sleeper.
So who you got, Rhett, for this week? Winner, sleeper, and solid.
We talked about him. He's been playing very well. He won 2 of the first 2 events in the Florida Swing. I got to go with a former winner, Adam Scott. Hopefully,
there he is.
I feel on Sunday he's going to have that same pose, and Adam Scott's going to be my winner. I like how he's playing. One to watch. I think hasn't getting much said about him, but I think he's going to be there when it's all said and done. He'll be in the mix at the least. Is Louis Oosthuizen. I like him. I like he played well at the match play. He's somewhat in form, and so I'm going to go with him as my one to watch. Sleeper, he's around 40-1, I think. Charles Schwartzel. We talked about him a little bit, and
Past champ is a sleeper.
Hey,
Me and you are opposite. I go
40,
deep, and you always tickle that
you
fine
said-
line between a sleeper and a favorite.
You say he's 40-1.
Smiley 300-1.
But I said I'll go with 2, and I'll go way back, and I'll go with Emiliano Grillo. I like him too. So
Yeah, no, now there's a sleeper.
Right.
And I like that pick too. I like Grillo. I think his game suits Augusta, and I wouldn't be surprised to see.
He's 200-1. Is that better?
Argentines have been successful there before.
Absolutely.
So, all right, Doug, who you got?
Okay, my favorite pick, and I'm not going to take accountability for this picture because I got sandbagged by somebody in this group. So when this goes up there, I didn't have anything to do with this. But my pick is Rory McIlroy. Okay, and Rory, look me up, and I'll tell you who did this to you. All right.
Hey, no, Rory did it to himself.
My God, he's married a girl from Rochester.
God bless
He's going to
him.
be in the
He is.
neighborhood.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think his game hits the ball high and long off the tee. Hits his irons high. And I think his putting will hold up. And if it's firm, those high shots, I think will pay off. I think it's Rory's time. My other 2 picks both come into the 100-1 range. I like Kevin Na. I think Kevin Na is a pain in the butt out there. I think he's the type of guy that'll pester everybody. He seems to hang around, and he makes that 10-footer when you think he's done, or he makes a birdie when you think he's done. And the other guy I'm going to take is Charlie Hoffman. He's had a good spring. Yeah. Played well there last year. Reasonably powerful. And I think he's got a pretty good game overall. And I think his familiarity from last year's success will help him out. So I got McElroy, Na, and Hoffman.
All right, so there you go. You can go ahead.
I would have taken Tony Finau, but he's not there.
I would have too.
Well,
I love that guy.
So there's some names that you might want to consider when you're filling out your office pool this week. If you're lucky enough to get in an office pool, if nobody's running a master's pool in your office, get a new job.
Fantasy golf.
So real quick before we get out of here, guys, I didn't get a chance to watch it, but both of you said you thoroughly enjoyed the drive, chip, and putt finals at Augusta.
Very cool. Great event.
What do you think, Rhett?
I think it's a great event for youth golf and for the way they do it. Where there's a school of thought about them playing actually, and these kids all play a lot of golf, so they're playing in tournaments all the time. And you say let's play the course, but I don't know if Augusta's ready to have everybody playing the course a couple of days before the pros take it. But to be able to have them participate and focus on the most important things in your game, you got to get off the tee. And then if you're around the green, you got to be able to get it close, and you got to be able to make the putts. So I like the format of it, and seeing these kids' faces is great. My son is getting into golf, and he's like, "Can I try this out?" And I said, "Sure, let's sign you up for the local one."
Yeah, it's great for getting kids up and involved.
And if they're watching golf with you, and they understand a little bit about Augusta, and they know the green jacket and stuff, knowing that they could go there and that'd be one of the first places they get to go to see and be on a golf course like that. And what an amazing thing for these kids. And some of them hitting a couple 200 yards, 200 plus yards, so a couple 11, 12-year-olds. Right. So they're hitting it out there.
Some good swings.
And Brownie, you enjoyed it as well.
I do. I look forward to watching it. I think it's great. Some of those kids have to practice in the wintertime wherever they live because it's not northeast or whatever. But the thrill of being able to go to Augusta National, in a drive, chip, and putt, I think should bring a lot of kids into it because it doesn't take a lot of time. You can practice anywhere, virtually anywhere. I don't think you can duplicate those greens anywhere, but you can set that driving grid up and do it in your backyard, basically. But they're bringing tens of thousands of kids into that event each year now, and it's a joint function with Augusta National, but it's the USGA, the PGA. Right. So it's I think it's a great move to get kids involved in the game and should take care of the game long term.
It's good to see Augusta getting involved in opening the doors. Obviously it's an exclusive place.
Yeah, they got a staunch reputation of being.
It's pretty hard to get passes for the tournament, so it's hard to bring kids to the event. If you have a pass, I think under 12, you can bring them during the week before the tournament starts.
For practice rounds, right?
But really, you still have to have the pass for that. So this is another way for them to be exposed to Augusta and the beauty of that place as well.
Totally, I agree.
All right, fellas, we're running up against the hour here. Want to give you the answer to the trivia question. Do you guys know this question? Brownie, you go ahead and give the answer.
Well, it's Greg Norman and Nick Price.
Yeah,
who shot it first?
Nick Price was first.
I was going to say Price. I didn't realize Norman had
63. Yeah. And it's amazing that nobody's bested that with the technology and the distance. These were both in the 80s, right?
Well, Norman might have done it the year that Faldo beat him in the finals, so 95 or 96.
I think it was 93 for Price and
95 or
96, I think.
96, yes.
Was Norman. If he did it then, it was 96 was the year.
The year before Tiger won it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, 96.
Yep.
Well, fellas, thanks, Doug, for coming in. Always fun talking golf for an hour.
Thank you.
Maybe be back next week when we wrap this thing up.
I enjoy it.
And so we can talk about everything that happened.
Maybe I can bring a better picture of Rory in next week with his green jacket on.
Well, if he wins it, I'll get you a better picture.
We can make up for it.
And not that I did that.
No.
We'll get you a better picture next week.
All right, fellas. Well, thanks to everybody for spending some time with us on this special edition of the GolfJ.com podcast. Connect with us online at Twitter at the GolfJ and Instagram at the _GolfJ, and search for GolfJ on Facebook. All of our episodes and the best of the wide world of golf on the web can be found at GolfJ.com. We'll be back next Monday night to recap the Masters. Until then, my friends, hit them long.
Not often.
Not often.
golfj.com.